Hello everyone, this is Ben Banchs, Business Manager for LIUNA Local 1776, bringing you what I hope to be the first of a series of quarterly videos and updates for our members and prospective members and all those of you out there in the technician world. It's been a busy few years, and if you've been keeping up with the Facebook page or newsletter or emails or whatever it is that we send out, you know that there's a lot of stuff going on. There's always a lot of stuff going on in the National Guard, especially in the technician program. We're finally wrapping up, or what we hope would be wrapping up, the last phase of the conversion of 12.6% of the technician workforce over to Title V. And that was supposed to be accomplished here by tomorrow, March 31st. However, apparently there's a wrinkle that's been thrown into the whole thing. And if you read my latest article, the state of Louisiana notified their employees this week, at least the portion of employees that was going to convert, that they were going to stop the conversion. And word on the street is that they're going to file a lawsuit or some kind of challenge in federal court. Now, we don't have final confirmation of that, and honestly, we don't even know how that's going to roll out or if we even get that far. But the point is that it's federal law that the National Guard convert these employees. We've wasted enough time and money fighting this. And the Adjutant Generals, not just General Curtis here in Louisiana, but also any other Adjutant General, and we're not aware of anybody else at this point in time, but if there are any others, they're thinking of joining him in some kind of class action. I don't even know what it would be called at this point. It's really just time to move on. The whole readiness arguments against converting folks to Title V are really baseless, and the force is going to work just fine. And in fact, we believe that this will actually, if they want to talk readiness, this will actually increase readiness. And the reason for that is because of all the inherent problems that are built into the National Guard technician system. So if you've been in the technician system, whether 6 months or 6 years, you know that the technician program is almost set up for failure, at least the way it's being ran. And our intent is to fix as many of those problems as we can, starting from the top. And when I mean starting from the top is by changing the law. And we've been very effective over the last 8 years in accomplishing just that on behalf of both the folks that we represent that pay us dues on a monthly basis and even on those that don't represent us. And we're going to continue to do that. So moving forward and looking forward to 2018, it is sort of an election year because it's midterm elections. So usually whenever it's an election year, it's hard to get anything done. However, we are concentrating on our top 3 priorities, at least as of right now, since we've already accomplished getting the Merit Systems Protection Board rights for technicians, which was a huge win, right alongside with Title V, and also clarifying in federal statute that technicians are also entitled to file discrimination complaints with the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission. Our top 3 priorities as they stand right now, and of course anything that I tell you, you can verify by going on our website to www.local1776.org. Our top 3 legislative priorities right now are TRICARE Reserve Select, fixing compatibility for technicians and exempting technicians from the QRBs or the SRBs as the retention boards that every National Guard member faces once they've reached 20 years. And the reason that those 3 things are important are because those hit home, they hit the pocket. Obviously, TRICARE Reserve Select, why technicians were excluded in the first place, I think, was just an oversight going back to 2007 when they first allowed National Guard members to take advantage of TRICARE. We have been trying to fix that since. A lot of people have come on board as of late, and that's fine because we need as many voices to be heard as possible, including the Adjutant Generals. But this is an all-hands effort. Of course, the Adjutant Generals are on board with this. NAUGUS, the National Guard Association, is on board with this. NGIS, the Enlisted Association, is on board with this, as well as many other entities that represent federal employees. And it makes no sense for a reservist or a National Guard member who's also a federal employee not to have access to TRICARE simply because they have access to the federal employee health benefit. So again, it's a technicality that we're trying to get rid of. We've been told by our friends in Congress that if they have the headroom, which meaning in the budget, it will definitely pass this year. And that will be a huge benefit. Again, if you've read any of the articles that we put out, there are many plans out there that are offered by OPM through FEHB. However, the most popular and the one that the majority of federal employees take advantage of is Blue Cross Blue Shield. And so compared to Blue Cross Blue Shield, the most popular plan out there, and I think it's the standard that most people take advantage of, the difference between Blue Cross Blue Shield standard and what a technician would pay or a federal employee reservist would pay if they were to take advantage of TRS is over $4,000 a year just on the premium alone. So that's a huge savings, especially for a family, and that's going off the family rate, mind you. So that's something that we're really pushing, and we're going to continue to push until we pass it. I do believe we will pass it one day. We almost had it passed last year. In fact, it was in the Senate version of the NDAA, but the House would not come on board. The pay for that the Senate wanted to use, the House did not agree with it, and so it just didn't make it in the bill. Speaking of QRBs, that's our second priority, and that one really hits home, and the reason is this. Again, if you've been a technician for 6 months or 6 years, you know that being a dual status technician, your job is contingent on you staying in the National Guard. Now, for those folks that are converting to Title V, that's no longer going to be an issue, but for all those that are going to remain dual status, you have to stay in the Guard in order for you to have your job. So what happens is once you hit 20 years of military service, your service is evaluated by the selective retention boards, and that's done through your military chain of command. Now, your remaining in the National Guard after your 20 years is strictly at the pleasure of your commanders, and that could be for any reason. They can actually get rid of you for any reason. You don't have to be physically disabled. You don't have to be, a discipline case or anything like that. You could be doing everything you're supposed to be doing, and if you just mess with the wrong person, if you make the wrong person angry, they could just get rid of you for that. Now, they're going to tell you that that's not accurate, that that's not how the board works, but trust me, that's the way it works. If they can't get you out on the technician side, sometimes they'll try to get you out on the military side, and if they kick you out militarily, then you're going to be fired from the technician program 30 days later. So, and it doesn't make any sense, because if you have a technician who's doing everything they're supposed to, they've gone to all their schools, their appraisals are up to date, their physical fitness is good, it makes absolutely no reason, especially financially for the government, to get rid of an experienced and trained person merely because they have over 20 years and they might have made the wrong person angry. So we're looking for QRB reform now, and SRB on the Air Guard side, QRB on the Army side. Now, we're not advocating to allow everyone to just stay in, okay? So what we're proposing to Congress is that they change the law, or they amend the law to say that if a technician is doing everything they're supposed to do on both the military and the civilian side, then that person should be exempted from being considered for non-retention. And the reason this is important is because technician service usually does not align with your military service. What I mean by that is when you join the National Guard, most people don't even know that there's a technician program. So by the time you actually make it on board as a technician, you might have a few years in already in the military. And if you take my personal example, by the time I was a technician, I was 31 years old, and I had joined the military at 17. So I was already well into my military career by the time that I started becoming a technician. So I would have hit 20 years as a member of the military at 37 years old with only 6 years of military service. So if the National Guard would have decided me, and I bet a lot of them were wishing that they would have got rid of me at 37, but they didn't. But anyway, if they would have got rid of me at 37 in my 20 years, I would have only had right around 6 years of civilian service, which is not enough for a civilian retirement. And that's not what Congress intended when they passed the National Guard Technician Act in 1969. So, we've been hammering away at that one now as well for the last several years, and I think we're really close to getting that. That's going to be looked at actually this year by what's called the Section 574 study that Congress enacted at our behest. And we've already provided input to that. Again, if you follow the Facebook page, you should have seen the comments that we submitted towards that. And they're not just looking at that, they're looking at other aspects of the technician program, especially all the extra, additional, ridiculous stuff that they make technicians do that is not part of their regular job. And that's a topic for a whole nother conversation. But aside from that, we're going to start wrapping it up here. Again, thank you for listening. This is the first of what should be quarterly. I'm mandated to do these by the executive board now. Thank you, John Cummings. And that's John Cummings from Arkansas, not South Carolina. Thank you for making me do these. And in the future, I also plan to do some live Facebook town halls or whatever, you guys can send me questions or you know, I'll answer them live. But stay tuned. If you're not in the union, you need to join. If you're in a state, or if you're within a state where we don't represent you, start getting with your fellow technicians and start engaging in the process to transfer over from our arch nemesis, which is the Association of Civilian Technicians, which, you know, they're just not doing anything really for technicians. I highly recommend you guys go and check out their latest Department of Labor filing for this year. Their membership dropped again. They're actually now effectively below 4,000 dues paying members out of a possible 25,000. In the last 18 years, since the year 2000, their effective membership has dropped from just under 7,000 now to less than 4,000. So they're headed in the wrong direction. And the reason they're headed in the wrong direction is really because they have no national game and their structure's falling apart. And we've in the past asked them to, you know, join forces with us so we can speak with one voice, but they want to remain independent. So they're just going to keep bleeding money in members, and they're just going to become, actually, they're already ineffective. They're just going to be even more ineffective. So if you want an effective representative in the workplace as a technician, you really seriously just have to come over to LIUNA Local 1776. We really are the only game in town when it comes to the National Guard Technician Program. I also want to remind you guys, again, if you've been on our Facebook page, remind you that we are getting ready to launch a legal fund to guarantee and help folks with representation if they do get in some kind of bind at work. Check it out. It's called FedDef, or the Federal Employee Defense Fund. We're at www.feddef, that's FEDDEF.org. And you can also check us out on Facebook. Just search for Federal Defense. And that's our Facebook page. It's our website. Check it out. We're going to be rolling that out sometime in April. It's going to be a really good program. For a minimal fee, you're going to be, basically, it's almost like job insurance for anything that happens at work that has to do with anything on the administrative side of the house. If you get in trouble outside of work, or if you get in trouble with the law like criminal, we can't help you. So check that out, and I hope to see you soon. Take care and have a good Easter weekend, and enjoy your spring break, and we'll see you soon. Thank you.